The end is nigh. After so many years and after so many failed attempts, I will finally be rid of those miserable turtles. And to think, all it took was a couple of bad TV shows and a few bad movies. Who knew it'd be that easy? Now's our chance to deal the final blow by making another horrible movie. Now, put on your costumes and let's get to work.
I have to admit, Shredder has really outdone himself this time. This plan may actually work. How do I look, Rocksteady? Like one of them stinking shell brains, Bebop.
This suit makes my skin crawl, but it's worth it. Deception is the way of the ninja. Now, let's finally finish the turtles off once and for all! Enjoy your final moments, turtles, for my victory is at hand.
Hey everyone, it's your old Uncle Padrino here, back with another new movie review. So, Ninja. Rap. Go ninja, go ninja, go. Go ninja, go ninja, go. Go ninja, go ninja, go. Go, 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 go. Oh. All right. That is probably going to be probably the most funniest thing in this video from here on out. All right. Let's review this movie. So Ninja, which is what I was going to bring up with that word ninja. Thanks to pop culture, they've made ninja out to be not what they actually seem to be, what they really are, what they truly are, which were what? Highly skilled assassins, all right? Back in feudal Japan, okay? So, they operate in stealth, hide in darkness, and lurk in the shadows. And again, we're assassins, all right? So say, for example, a farmer owed his taxes, or was behind on his taxes, he owed to the shogun, who was probably running different parts of Japan at that time. A shogun would send their ninja out to take him out. Okay, now, depending on the orders, the ninja would go to the farmer, take him out. Easy, mission accomplished. Okay, or again, depending on the orders from the shogun, the ninja would probably approach the farm in the disguise of a farmhand and gain his trust, and maybe over the course of maybe a couple of weeks, then he would take him out. So it always varied, but that's what they were. So the idea of ninja being, brightly colored, loud and obnoxious and things like that goes against what a ninja was, because ninja were considered without honor, primarily by the samurai warriors, primarily because they didn't operate by a code, so to speak. So you have Boruto and Naruto, you have Ninja Turtles, of course, you have Randy Cunningham, 9th grade ninja, you have Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, you have Nightbird from the Transformers, you have in video games Shinobi, you have Ryu from Ninja Gaiden, you have Strider Hiryu, and so many more characters that in American pop culture have made ninja more likable. Now, that's not to say that I don't like ninja. Ninja are cool. I mean, and that's why we like them, because, they're cool, right? So, having said that, one of the things about this movie is that it goes against what ninja really are. All right, let's start from the beginning. the Ninja Turtles. Okay, if you read the original not Marvel, the original, I'm getting my comic books mixed up. If you read the original Mirage, that's what I meant to say, Mirage comic book, the Ninja Turtles were flat out about revenge. That's all it was. Flat out. They didn't have any personalities. They were all pretty much the same, that you couldn't distinguish the differences between them outside of their weaponry, basically. So it wasn't until the 87 cartoon when we got, different colors, difference in personalities and whatnot. Okay. And that's how it all got started. Okay. Now, it's been noted, I guess a few decades ago, maybe a decade or two ago, that every different turtle iteration is a different dimension. Okay, so the 87 Turtles exist. They're just in another dimension. The 2003 version of the Ninja Turtles exists. The next Mutation exists. The 1990 movie version exists. All of the different variations, Rise of the Ninja Turtles exist. 2012 version exists. They all exist in different realities. Okay, so you almost have to look at this movie as another iteration of the Turtles that's in another dimension. Okay, now that's not to make an excuse for this movie, but you have to understand that this is how, for the most part, it's being viewed through the people who are making these different variations of the Turtles. All right, so let's start off with the positive. And oh boy, there's really not very many positive things. I think about 3 different positive things about this movie, okay? As far as one positive goes, there is Seth Rogen, who's behind this movie. He mentioned that the reason, one of the things about the Ninja Turtles of the past is that they didn't really explore and go to the teenage aspect of the Ninja Turtles, which, you know what? Fair enough. I can agree with that. Okay. And I could get behind that. One of the things about Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which a lot of people didn't like, I was kind of half and half to an extent. The show was very comedy driven instead of more action adventure, and that's what the Ninja Turtles are primarily. They are action adventure driven with a sprinkle of comedy and mixed in with it. If you look at the series finale of that show, I mean, the action sequences were spectacular, very heavily anime inspired, and I think that one of the things that turned people off about that show was that had they let off with that instead, the show probably would have been a lot more successful. But they waited until the series finale to do that, so it's too late now. The show was canceled, whatnot. But one of the things about the Turtles in that show in that series, I should say, was that the Turtles were different species of turtles. So Raphael was a snapping turtle. Leonardo was a red-eared sliding turtle. Michelangelo was a box turtle, and Donatello was a soft-shell turtle. I thought that was brilliant. Great idea. Why didn't I think of that before? Why didn't anyone else think of that before? So this movie is focusing on the teenage aspect of it. And I actually was like, yeah, you know what? They didn't do that. Why not just do that? So I was behind that. The second positive thing about it was the idea of having actual teenagers voice the Turtles, which was never done before either. All of the Turtles were voiced by adults, which there's nothing wrong with that. Now, if you know anything about animation, in animation, they record the voices first, and then the animators act off the voices and animate off the voices, acting through their pencils, right? Okay, so... But the other thing that most people don't know about animation is what? Just like when people discovered that Bart Simpson was voiced by a woman, Nancy Cartwright, the thing about animation and voicing kids, most times, and if you watch the show Recess or if you watched any of the Charlie Brown specials, they always had kid voices, okay, for the most part. In Recess, there were a few adults, but they were primarily children. But as far as the main cast goes. But one of the things about one of the issues that come with having kids voice your characters is what? They eventually get older and their voices change. So you have to keep re-auditioning new kids that kind of sound a lot like the older about the kids, a lot like the kids who matured out of the part. So animation-wise and cost-effectively, it's better to have an adult voice a kid or a teenage character, whether it's a man or a woman. So So for this, I'm like, okay, cool. All right, we can have teenage boys voicing, the Ninja Turtles. All right. The teenage aspect of it, which is this is the third thing and final thing that's a positive, is they stuck with the teenage aspect of it so much is that now I know a lot of people don't like the animation style of this, and as well of Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse and all of that. But I like it. I like the idea. But, like I mentioned in past videos, Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse is an animated comic book. The Peanuts movie, animated newspaper comic strip. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish and The Bad Guys last year, they are animated children's books illustrations, okay? They stuck with the teenage level of this so much, they give it the look of a teenager drawing and doodling in a notebook. So this is an animated teenage artist notebook come to life. And coming from an artist, and again having been a teenager, drawing throughout my entire scholastic career in class. Actually got in trouble because I was drawing in class too much, actually. I can understand that. So the design, the style, all comes from a teenager's type mind and ability and their ability to be able to draw. Okay. So I was with that. I was with all of that, all of those positives. Now, here comes the negative. And there's a lot of negatives to this. Okay. The story. The story almost makes no sense. And here's why, okay? The story, and I'm just gonna spoil it for you, spoiler alert, all right? That this story is basically about acceptance. That's all it is. That's all it's all about. Now, the bad thing about this is that they don't let you figure it out. It's not the underlying message of the story, of the movie and of the story. I mean, they practically just spit it out to you. And I'm sorry, I still don't like that. I don't like when things are spelled out for me. I just don't. But again, I'm an adult. And my wife being a high school counselor, in some of the stories that she comes home with, most kids nowadays like to be handheld, unfortunately, through this, that, and the other. They don't know how to do things on their own. Many of them, I should say, don't know how to do things on their own. So I can honestly see why this movie would do that, which sucks. It's stupid. That being said, because of that aspect of the story, about acceptance, it messes up the lore of the Ninja Turtles and of the idea of being a ninja as well. If you want to see this movie, you'll see why, and why I brought up what I said in the beginning of this video as well. Because of that, the story makes hardly any sense. It goes against what's canon. And it's like, this makes no sense. Why are these characters here, and why are these characters interacting? Why are these characters doing this, that, and the other? And it made absolutely no sense. It messed up everything. And it was frustrating, moreover, than anything else about this movie. It was so frustrating. So, you have Bebop and Rocksteady, it's like that didn't happen, at the same time, that happened later on within the Turtles' tenure. And so it makes no sense. Oh, one more positive thing I will say is the main villain of this movie, Superfly, voiced by Ice Cube. I actually like that character. I actually like that villain. It was it was a callback to Baxter Stockman to an extent, and they kind of replaced him with Baxter Stockman. They replaced Baxter Stockman with Superfly, but I actually kind of liked the character. He was actually kind of cool. I mean, he was pretty much a threat. But anyway, back to the negatives. But it did, overall, a lot of this stuff didn't make sense. You had characters interacting with the Turtles and other characters when they wouldn't have been, okay? They wouldn't have been around at that time or anything like that. And most of these things wouldn't have happened. The other thing, of course, and if you know me and if you watch my videos, is the racial swaps, and gender swaps and things like that. I'm sorry, and even I was mistaken about this. April O'Neil was never black. Most people will argue, well, in the original comics from Mirage Studios, she was black, but she wasn't. I mean, the hair, just because she had a curly hairstyle, and because some of the reprints have different color schematics to it, she wasn't black. And I think I think many other people are thinking the same thing. There's this thing about getting rid of all of the redheads and turning them into African Americans. And it's like, that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So, you also have a few characters that were mutants, I should say, that were male, and they purposely turned them female. And to me, again, look, I'm sorry. If you're going to do that, if you're going to redo a franchise, for today's modern audiences, cool. But keep everything established as the way it was. And if you want to add more diversity, so to speak, into this, then create new characters that that can and will live within the universe, okay? Or better yet, just create a brand new show with brand new characters where you can do anything and everything that you want. Okay? Another thing. Oh boy. Wow. Splinter. This makes no sense whatsoever. I'm sorry. This is another thing that's been going on with a lot of old properties now. They're turning the male characters, turning the male heroes in these movies and in these new shows, these rebooted movies and rebooted shows, into losers. I mean, it's just like, okay, Luke Skywalker, Indiana Jones, Master Splinter, the Ghostbusters, any other characters that are out there, classic characters that are out there, they've made them, sad sacks and grumpy and losers and use them for comedy relief for the most part. And Splinter is done the same way, is treated here the same way as Splinter was treated in Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as well. Splinter is a parental figure and he's their teacher. He commands respect. And yes, being teenagers, they're gonna, they're gonna go against the grain, and they're gonna go against their parents and challenge their views and whatnot. But when the parent puts their foot down, when a sensei puts their foot down and says no or listen or whatever, makes that command, they straighten up. And so that it's almost like they're destroying these male characters in order to lift up characters of different races and female characters and whatnot. So for me, having Splinter being this comedic character in this movie, it sucks. It makes no sense whatsoever. The Turtles in this as well, which is another thing, they're not very sure of themselves as well. And I get it. Again, they're focusing on the teenage aspect of it, where they're unsure of themselves. They aren't confident. They don't know what to do, what to say, things like that. And again, trying to get approval. I understand that. But in every iteration of the Ninja Turtles, they've always come off as confident, strong, and everything, and a little bit and serious at times when it calls for it, right? So in this, they really aren't on character that much. So, Leo's not a confident leader. Raphael, he's not angry. I mean, he's violent, but he's not angry. And, Donatello, he's not coming out as smart as he should be, but he's coming off more as a nerd, more of a nerd, like a comic book nerd or an anime nerd or a manga nerd, but he's not into machinery or electronics yet. And Michelangelo, he doesn't still seem to come out. Well, he has a little bit of the, dude, oh man, dude, I feel your vibe and stuff like that. Okay, cool. But for the most part, a lot of the, as far as Splinter and as far as the Turtles go, they do act a little bit out of character, okay, in this. The other thing in this, and I noticed this with anything that Seth Rogen is involved in, he loves to bring in celebrities, massive amounts of celebrities to make appearances in his movies, whether it's animated or whether it's live action. And this is no different. And I'm sorry, to me, that is a complete and utter waste of time and talent as well. There is no reason that Post Malone should be in this movie as Ray Fillet. There isn't any reason Paul Rudd, professional voice actors could have voiced all of the additional characters. Having Jackie Chan voice Splinter, having Ice Cube voice Superfly would have been far enough to attract people, if they are into celebrities, into this movie. There was no reason to have Paul Rudd, Maya Rudolph, and whoever else that's in this movie that I probably don't even care about or don't know. Okay, and that's a major complaint for me. And John Cena, that's right, John Cena is Rocksteady in this. And Bebop is voiced by, of course, Seth Rogen has to give himself a role in this as well as Bebop. And I just think that is so stupid and just such a waste of talent and money, in my opinion, because you're paying these people, these celebrities, the star power, and well, they bring nothing to the table but their star power and their name to it, but they don't bring anything creative to the whole process either. So you're wasting a bunch of talent and a lot of money. The other thing I do have to mention in this is stupid, and I'm going to nitpick. I don't care. You don't have to like it if you don't want to. Fine. Don't like it. But Bebop, Seth Rogen voicing Bebop, isn't that technically cultural appropriation? Because in the past, Bebop is a black man. So how is it that he is not called out for cultural appropriation for voicing a black character? Yes, he's a warthog now, but still he was a black man before the mutation. So how is it that he gets away with voicing a black character and he's not black? That makes no sense, okay? The other thing, Jackie Chan. I love Jackie Chan. I do. And he's good in this part as Splinter. But he's Chinese. Ninja are Japanese. It's just like the reboot of the Karate Kid movie that they did years ago with Will Smith's son and Jackie Chan. The Karate Kid. Karate is Japanese. They were in China. That movie took place in China. So he didn't learn karate, he learned Kung Fu. Now, if they just said Kung Fu Kid, all right, cool. But Karate Kid has a name, so they had to stick with karate. But there could have been a lot of other people who could have voiced Splinter in this movie. Ken Watanabe, I think that's his name, from Godzilla vs. Kong and Bullet Train. There were other actors that were in Bullet Train, Japanese actors that were in Bullet Train and in John Wick 4 that could have easily voiced Splinter. Now, look, I'm not all about this whole, you need to stay in your lane. If you're not this race or not this gender or not this sexual preference, you can't voice this character. I'm not all about that. The person who sounds the best as the character should get the role. All right. Now, they opened up that can of worms. And that was one of the things I had a complaint about DuckTales 2017, I should say, I'm sorry, was Gizmo Duck, Fenton Crackshell, they decided to make him Latin, so he was Fitting Crackshell Cabrera, because Lin-Manuel Miranda was voicing the character. So in his honor, they made him Latin. And it's like, look, I did not know that these characters were white, Caucasian. I mean, yes, Uncle Scrooge comes from Scotland, so the Duck family does technically come from Scotland, but I never thought that they were Caucasian. They're ducks. I just never thought of that. So to open this can of worms about race and all this and ethnicity and all of that to characters that didn't have it and no one really thought about it and no one cared about it is stupid. So as far as this movie goes, this is a complete mess. Outside of the 3 positives that I mentioned, and one thing, kind of another negative that I have to kind of mention a little bit is, as far as the voices with the turtles go, I know I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but having actual teenagers voicing the turtles, the voices didn't quite fit very well either. Some did, some didn't, but no, most people were complaining more about Donatello because his voice was high pitched. Well, it's like, well, his voice hadn't cracked yet and hadn't, changed yet, so I can buy that moreover. Whereas Michelangelo, Mikey sounded like he was a little older than a teenager. So, I mean, the voices just kind of didn't match. But again, I get it. Fine, excellent. It's your choice. So there is a series that's going to be based off the movie this movie does set up for a sequel, but it also sets up for a new series that it already was announced that there's going to be a new series on Nickelodeon based off of this version of the movie. And the way the movie ended, I was like, okay, I can already see where this is going. And again, it goes against turtle lore and it goes against what a ninja is and what a ninja is supposed to be. So, I'm not looking forward to that series. I'm not going to watch it or anything. So that's it. Now, I have to mention another thing. The theater that I was in when I went to go watch this movie, it was pretty packed. Adults and teenagers, mind you. Hardly any laughs. Hardly any of the jokes laughed. And one joke, they kept running into the ground like I don't know what. And there were hardly any laughs in this movie, so it really wasn't funny. So all of the reviews that you see, the funniest movie of the year, no, this wasn't. I mean, there was a woman who was sitting right next to me, and I always choose an end seat up at the very top. And so there was a woman who was sitting next to me to the right of me, and she fell asleep during the movie. I heard her. She wasn't snoring, but she was breathing heavily, so I could tell. That kind of, breathing, so, as far as this movie goes, it's not very good, in all honesty. I honestly recommend that you avoid it. If I were you, I would just wait until it comes. If you really need to see it, I will wait until it comes out on streaming and check it out yourself. Oh, one more positive thing about the movie. It's only 90 minutes long. It's not 2 hours or anything like that. It's only 90 minutes long. So that's even better for a lot of people and for the kids as well, instead of the 2 hours that kids had to sit through with Across the Spider-Verse. But that's beside the point. But I would wait until it comes out on streaming. I mean, just watch it in the comfort of your own home if you're really interested in watching it. But I know if you have children and your kids are going to want to drag you off to watch this movie, go to a matinee. Don't give it too much of your money, okay? How would I rank this as far as all of the Ninja Turtles movies? The first 3 from the 90s are always going to probably be the best, that had the suits and the mechanics and the puppetry from Jim Henson's Creature Shop. I think they were always going to be considered the top of the best of the best, especially the first one. The second one kind of went downhill because it was a little more comedy driven because parents complained about it being, well, the first one being too dark and a little too violent, so they lightened it up a lot as far as that. The third one, a lot of people consider the worst of the trilogy. And the movie from 2000, the animated movie from 2007, is technically a sequel of sorts to the original trilogy. Now, I consider that to be a good movie, and it doesn't have Shredder in it or anything like that, but I still consider it a good movie. I love the character designs and I love the animation. Too bad the studio went out of business and shut down after their attempt of Astro Boy, of an Astro Boy movie, I should say. The Michael Bay movie, the Michael Bay produced movies, recent movies, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. Those are I consider to be the absolute worst of all of the movies. So where does this movie fit in? I would say right behind the 2017, not 2017, 2007 movie, and right in front of the Michael Bay produced Ninja Turtle movies. That's where I would put it. I could watch it, but would I pay attention to it and take it seriously? No, I would watch it more over as from the artistic point of view for myself. Anything else beyond that, I wouldn't really care much for it, okay? So that's where I would rank it. So that's that. Shredder got his wish. He destroyed those wretched reptiles. He really did. It may have taken some time, but he did it. And he did it in the most recent years with these bad movies and some of the bad TV shows. Well, after the 2012 show, a series anyway, that aired on Nickelodeon, that was CGI. But he managed to do it. Just like Vince McMahon said to Stone Cold Steve Austin back during the Attitude Era, "It was me, Austin. It was me all along." Well, here, it was Shredder, Turtles. It was Shredder all along. So that's how this movie is for me. If you want to go see it, proceed with caution. But I would avoid it. And like I said, if you really have to watch it with the kids, matinee, or wait until it hits streaming within a couple of months on Paramount Plus, which will probably be around October, I would take it. So that's it for me. Stan Lee's not here again. So in his words, I'm gonna make up something here. Make up something he would probably say. If it looks like mutating ooze, it must be spoiled. Tune in next time. Excelsior!
Where do you think you're going? Did you watch the movie that we reviewed? Do you agree or disagree with our review? Place a comment down in the comment section below. Hit the bell to subscribe and make sure you hit the like button, or else I'll send the Foot Clan after you. Until next time.